Hey there, if you don't already know me, my name is Jacqueline Daniel, and for my first YouTube video, I would like to talk about my journey and where it all started. My journey starts as a child. A lot of the rapid weight gain, really started off, I was diagnosed with asthma and was put on a lot of prescription steroids. And if you may not know, steroid can induce weight gain. This is where, my parents explained to me that's where they started to notice a change in how my body would react to, gaining weight. I always struggled with being a bigger girl. I was very active. My parents were very good at making sure, I stayed active. But, it wasn't, I was still bigger. I was still bigger than everyone. And I think that definitely had an impact on how I viewed myself. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm drinking some tea. It definitely had an impact on how I viewed myself and how I viewed myself in comparison to other girls my age, which that wasn't right to compare myself anyways, But as a child, I didn't realize that. With that being said, I was 15 years old and I was dating a senior who was at the time 18, and within the county that I live, there's a thing called work-based learning. So sometimes teens, high schoolers, they wouldn't be in school, they were supposed to be at work, but not all the time would they be at work. You know how that goes. So I was in AP classes, honors classes, and with that, I'm not gonna lie, there was trust among teachers in which I could skip, and say I'm going to the gym or I'm going to the library, and I could be gone all period, and no one wasn't gonna ask me any questions of where I was, and I knew this. And this prompted him, my boyfriend at the time, to have one of his, friends come and get me from my high school. Now, I didn't think nothing of it, and this man would pick me up from school. He, at the time, my brother was heavy in travel basketball, so sometimes my parents would, entrust me to my older sister, who at the time was 18, 19, to watch me. And I was wilding. I was letting this man come pick me up to bring me to my boyfriend's house, no problem, right? Until it would turn into harassment of wanting to come see me. It wasn't picking me up. He wanted to spend time with me, and that was something that I was always very uncomfortable with. I didn't like him. It was, hey, you're my ride to my man's. Like, I have a man's. Like, leave me alone. And the threatening slowly got worse. It went from harassing text messages to harassing phone calls, to the point where when I was getting picked up, he was verbally, very strong. And once that wasn't getting him what he wanted, it turned into letters in my mailbox at my home. Me realizing that this man knows what school I go to. He knows my schedule. He knows where I live. And at the time, I didn't you know, think nothing of his age. I just thought, you know, he was the same age as my boyfriend at the time, because I thought that was his friend. I thought he was in work-based too. You know, sometimes I would like talk about school and he kind of brushed it off, but at the time I was 15, so, you know, my investigative skills were not where they are today. But yeah, I was harassed, I was coerced, I was threatened. And at the time, in the mind state of a 15-year-old child, any threat of me possibly getting in trouble, it scared me. You know, my parents were God-fearing parents who were very, you know, they did not play. Nothing wrong with that, but they did not play. So that would make me very hyper vigilant to hide stuff, because I didn't want to get in trouble. So it got to the point where he was trying everything to get what he wanted out of me. And he realized, oh, she doesn't want to be in trouble. So he started, you know, threatening me that he's going to go and tell my principal that I'm leaving school. He's going to stay at my house and wait till my parents get home so he can tell my parents what I've been leaving school and skipping school. And at the time, he just posed it like he just wanted to spend time with me. And, you know, I knew that wasn't probably the ulterior motive, but in my head, again, my 15-year-old mind is like, okay, well, this is a fire, you need to put the fire out, you need to do whatever you need to do to put this fire out, because if you get in trouble, you will never have anything. You'll be locked in the house, you know, you won't go anywhere, you'll get all your things taken away. It was in my mind, again, I was mortified of getting in trouble. So I let him, you know, come to my home when my family wasn't there. And unfortunately, you know, that's how I was really pressured, coerced, and pushed into, you know, having sexual relations with this man when that's not what I wanted. Unbeknownst to me, this was a 25-year-old man preying on me, exposing my vulnerabilities, exploiting them, and this was something he was doing to other women as well, other young women. This was a predator. After he got what he wanted, I became numb. I remember coming up with some bullshit story because I was scared that I was pregnant, you know, to get my mom to get me a pregnancy test, because again, I was 15. The incident happened in April. I asked my mom for a test come May, and it was negative, so I was like, that's perfect, you know, I can take this to my grave. I can let that go. And after the incident as well, I did not mess with the guy anymore, because I knew if I was still going to mess with him, it was going to be that person picking me up, and I just didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't want to see him. I didn't want to be around him, so I ended up ending the relationship with the person. You know, a couple months went by, and I still hadn't got my period. And I was like, Mom, you know, I still haven't got my period in She called the doctor told her, have her take another test. And I did, and it was positive. And I was crushed because I was like, why wasn't it positive the first time, So my mom was like, like, if you weren't having sex since the last time you took one, like, you gotta be like 4 or 5 months of pregnant. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. So, it was my 16th birthday, shortly after my 16th birthday, that went in, found out I was like about 21 weeks pregnant, and that I was having a boy. And, of course, your pregnant daughter, who's the daddy? Who's the pappy? And when I couldn't even tell my mom. I couldn't even tell her. I remember I had to sit down and write it. She said, well, if you can't tell me, then write it. And I wrote it. I wrote it down, and I remember like just trying to brush it off, like, no, we don't have to tell him. We don't have to tell him. We don't have to tell him anything, because I didn't want nothing to do with him. So I remember, I think I went to the mall with one of my friends. I was 16. I was one of those people who, on my 16th birthday, the 16th of the day, I'm in the DMV. I want my license. So, I went to the mall with one of my friends. Sorry, I'm wiping my boogers with my hands. I promise I'm gonna wash them. But, yeah, I went to the mall with one of my friends. I remember coming home, and my mom, she looked so sick in the face. She looked so sick, and she's like, hey, me and Dad need to talk to you. Okay. But I already knew, kind of like, it's not gonna be good, because I know my mom. I know the faces she makes. She doesn't have a face on that looks too good. And she said, do you, oh, mind you, when I wrote on the paper of what happened, like who the dad was, I left his phone number and stuff, because she's, my parents said that they wanted to talk to him and things like that. So they're thinking they finna call like a child and say, I want to talk to your mama. And no, this man taunts my parents. Has no shame to tell my parents, hey, he's 25 years old. Yep, I've been to your house. I've been admitting it. No shame. And from that point, legal actions was started. And not only did I have to talk to city police, I had to talk to county police, because of the logistics of where crimes were occurring, aka him picking me up from school, picking me up from my home, taking me to my boyfriend at the time's house. It was a little like gray area with the legality, so I had to go to both city and county and go back and tell them what happened down to the last detail, everything. And then after verbally telling them, I had to write it down. As a 15-year-old pregnant child, 16-year-old pregnant child, that was hard. And especially, the city was okay. When I went to city, the detective there, he was very understanding. He listened, he didn't judge, But when I went to county, I'll tell you that police officer, she was telling me, I could charge you for fornication. I could charge you for X, Y, and Z, and skipping school and all this stuff. And I was just like, wow, like, you're right. Like, this is all my fault. Which I was making, poor decisions. So I put myself in a predicament to be in a messed up situation. So, everything, the legal action stuff went really, really quick to me. I'm pretty sure to my parents that was not as quick. After I kind of gave my statements and stuff, they really kept me out of it. There was a chance that we could have went to trial, and I was prepped for that. I was brought in front of the DA, and I was every possible charge was explained to me, and the fact that alone that he got me pregnant was enough to put him in jail for life. And to hear this as a 16-year-old from a DA asking you, what do you want? At the time, I just couldn't, I didn't want, I was so guilty. I felt like if I wasn't skipping school, I would have never been in front of this person. I would have never, ruined this person's life. I don't want to ruin someone's life. And that's when it was brought to me that he was doing this to other young women. And I was actually pregnant at the same time as another young girl. So this was a habitual pattern of his. This was a habitual pattern of his, and it was just put to me like, hey, I know how county treated you. I know how you may feel, but if we don't put him away, he's gonna hurt somebody else. Like, he's hurt you, and he's hurt so many other people, and no one's done anything about it. So, I'm like, do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. That's what I told her. I said, do what you need to do, but I can't sit here and tell you how much time I want to see someone in prison. I can't. And I was just so guilty because I just felt like it was just all my fault. I know one of the conditions that my mother had straight off the bat was sex offenders registry. That was a non-negotiable. I remember that. As it should be. But, yeah. From that point, the next time I remember having any contact with them was them saying, he admitted to everything. And he said everything was true that I was saying was true. And I think if that didn't happen, I don't know, I'd probably be in an even worse predicament if I had to go to trial. But he knew what he did. He admitted to what he did, and he took a plea. He is ordered for no contact. This is a for life order, no contact with me, my child, no rights to the child, nothing. The DA was very, very good to inform us about the legal basis of that. And so I would be protected, my child be protected. But life was never the same after that. I had to tell my friends. I remember telling my friends. One of my friends bawled. My friend Rain, she bawled, crying, and I think she knew then how my life would change more than I did, because I was just like, no, it's okay, I'll be okay. I was very like, I'll be okay, it's okay, like, I'll live, it's gonna be okay. That really hurt her. And looking back on it now, it's just like she knew how much that shit would affect me. I was so embarrassed about who his father was. I didn't really tell people like what happened. I didn't want to talk about it. It was just, I'm having a baby, and that's just what it is. I was a bigger girl, tall, you know. So a lot of people, I didn't realize I was 5 months pregnant. I didn't even know. So even at, you know, people didn't know. Like, I don't think it was like, people didn't even realize that I had a baby until I was gone for 6 weeks and like came back to school. So, you know, another thing that I remember was my girl, Margarita. She was just like, "You're so smart, Jackie. Like, how did this happen? Like, how did you get pregnant? I don't understand." Like, almost in disbelief. And, you know, I just remember shrugging it off and saying, shit happens, you know, it is what it is. Whole time I'm knowing, like, you know, it happened. My friends were always super supportive of me. I was blessed to have a family who rallied behind me. I remember my parents had a meeting with all my teachers, and all my teachers were very, 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 very loving. All my teachers were very loving. I can't say, you know, if it were to happen again, I wouldn't ask for it to be no different. I was very supported. Down from being able to be gone for 6 weeks out of school, teachers bringing me my schoolwork, coming to my house. I'm talking about teachers making sure I'm eating at school right, making sure I didn't even, they had people carrying my book bags, like, real deal. I'll never forget that. Allowing me to have a space to pump when I came back to school, being understanding that I needed to leave class to go pump. I wouldn't ask for it no other way. So from that point, I remember after having Ollie, I lost weight. It was such a big change. I mean, I'm 16, I'm a mom now. This is my responsibility. This is my child. You know, I did lose some weight, but I couldn't express how I felt. I couldn't. It was like, okay, everything happened. Months went by, I thought that was over, and then now I have his child, and then now it's brought back all the memories of what happened, and I didn't want to talk about it. We didn't talk about him. It was don't ask, don't tell. And you know, my parents did the absolute best. Again, if I could do it again, I would not change it. But there was damage there from that. I didn't go to therapy. I just continued to just be in school, and I finished high school. I graduated with honors. You know, I really put my head in the books because I felt like that was something that I could really keep my mind to and bring something home. Like, I want to go to college. I want to get a college degree. I want to do that. I want to, like, almost like undo the pain I didn't cause because I'm a teen mom. Now I have to outshine and be almost like over the top even more because of me having a child young. I just felt like if I didn't, people wouldn't take me seriously. They wouldn't respect me. You know, that affected me socially. You know, people's parents didn't want them dating me because I had a child, which hurt, but I understand. So, you know, I remember sitting down with my god sister's grandma, Miss Hanson. She told me, you know, just because you had this baby doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. And it's just like, it's crazy that she told me that, because that was true. I felt like I wasn't worthy of it. I just felt so damaged. Like I was just no good anymore. So as I went to college, those ruminating thoughts, those feelings, I couldn't get away from them. I was having nightmares. I was having issues sleeping. I started smoking very heavily, daily smoking. I was going to school 5 days a week, college 5 days a week. Driving back and forth from Carrollton, Douglasville to Carrollton. And I was eating. I found comfort in food. It just made me feel good. It would bring me a high. Like, I just found solace in that. I could choose what I wanted to eat, what textures. It would light up my brain like it was drugs. Anytime I got sad, I could just go eat an ice cream, or I could go to Cookout, or I can, I go to McDonald's and get me a Big Mac and a Quarter Pounder, large fry, large drink, and the sweet treat. I need 2 pies and the ice cream, to dip my pies in my ice cream. Like, eating at home, going to school, having a meal plan. I didn't even live on campus. I had a meal plan. I got all these friends on campus. Everybody eat at different times. I go with every friend, and we eating every time, I continue to eat and eat and eat and eat, and it led me into my next instance of assault. I was in college, and we all like a little bad boy or whatever. And I again got into one of those instances where I was just not doing what I was supposed to be doing. And at this time, yes, granted, I was 19, and I was messing with an individual, and he was selling drugs. He was selling drugs out of his house. I thought at the time, I didn't know about pills and Percocets and Xanax and all that stuff. Like, I didn't really know about the pills. I really just knew about liquor and weed, and I would smoke with him. So that's where it started. It was like, how they say weed is the gateway drug. Yes. Yeah, so at the time I was at this partner's house, and he had supplied me with weed, and we had edibles. I was liking the edibles then, and that's when he introduced me. Hey, you want to take these pills with me? It's, some pills that I take, they make me feel really good. I want you to try them. So he gives me like a handful of like a couple different pills, and at the time, again, I didn't know what they were. But yeah, he gave me Xanax. He gave me green Xanax, which is a very, very strong Xanax. And he gave me Percocets. So I took 2 Percocets and a green Xanax and an edible, and we were smoking and drinking. And I never consented to doing anything sexual other than with him. At the time, he was my partner. I was with him. I was doing sexual things with him. And it was just all a ploy and a plot to, get what he wanted. And he had his friends come over. They weren't there when I first was there. He had his friends come over and they assaulted me while I was high on all those pills, and recorded it. And the embarrassment to wake up and I remember it was one of those like weekends that like I had my mom, you know, sometimes they would watch Ollie overnight, so the embarrassment of being at someone's home and being shown things that are done to you that you don't even remember with people that you don't even know was very hard. It was very hard. The embarrassment of the leverage of someone having a video of you like that is unbearable, because then they have utter and total control over you. And again, I'm 19. I still have the I don't want to be in trouble mindset. So, you know, I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody. You know what? I can't go through another court process. I can't go tell someone what happened. I took the pills. I listened to him. I did it. I put that on myself. At the time, again, that's wrong place, wrong time. I shouldn't have been smoking. I shouldn't have been drinking. I shouldn't have been eating edibles. I shouldn't have been there. I should have not even been with a person like that. I'm just giving all the reasons of why it was my fault. So, it was just God, because that person, the next week, he ended up getting his door kicked in. He was moving I didn't know at the time. Again, I was not aware. He was older than me. He was like 24. I was like 19. So he was selling drugs out the house like real bad, apparently. I did not know this. I wasn't at his house all the time. I was in college, so like I didn't always see everything, and I was very, very gullible. I wasn't street savvy at that point. So I just didn't realize that. And he ended up going to jail. So that kind of just took him out of my life, and I didn't really have to do anything. And that was something that I had to, again, have right here. Have the pain, have the shame, have the guilt. And I couldn't tell anybody what happened because I was so embarrassed, Not knowing that, like, that video alone would have been my justice. I looked dead in the bed. Like, again, I was just embarrassed. I was ashamed that I even let myself be around a person who would be okay with doing that to me. It will hurt. And I just couldn't handle it. And from that point on, that's when I started eating even more. I just was smoking and eating, getting high, and feeling good from being high off weed, and just eating. And I got to my highest weight was like 475, 470s. And I was depressed. I ate as much as I could. I couldn't breathe walking up the steps. I couldn't walk in the mall or nothing like that without being tired. I hated the way that I looked. I hated everything about me. I hated how I just felt like I couldn't connect with Oliver like I wanted to. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So, I attempted suicide. I was just in a very dark place, and I had to, I really, really scared my family with that. To this day, I have a lot of guilt from that as well. The fact that I would just decide to go instead of talking about it. And was in a mental health facility for 5 days. And that was when I first got all my diagnoses, and I was able to talk to a medical professional about what happened to me. And that was the first time my feelings were ever validated, in the sense of, like, not my feelings weren't validated. I would say that's the first time that it was, told to me, to take that burden off yourself, that, this is something that happens to men and women, and their feelings are normal. And it is such a, we have a taboo society that, tells us to not talk about those things and to put that on ourselves. And, at the time I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety disorder with panic, major depressive disorder. Yeah, there was, yeah. I was put on medication to stabilize my mood. And, with mental health, it's not a quick fix. It's like something that you have to want yourself too. And you have to stay consistent in. At the time, I was in a very toxic relationship. And again, that just goes into the low self-worth. I didn't feel like I was worthy of having someone that was going to treat me better. I felt like I was never going to have anybody that could love me more than the partner that I was with. I just, at the time, I had never really had like a serious committed relationship where it was any notion of a future. And I just held on to that because I was like, I'm almost 500 pounds. Like, nobody's gonna love me. Like, he loves me, cares about me. And it was a 5-year battle of toxicity, back and forth. I was not, a perfect little angel. I definitely had my hand in that. But again, I just subjected myself to that. Because in my mind, I just felt like I was not worth anything. I believed that I wouldn't find anyone else. I believed that I'd be lonely. I was so sad. And I was so sad because, again, I got a baby. Who's gonna love me? Nobody's gonna love me. I have a baby. I'm big, I'm fat, I'm ugly. The only thing I have going for myself was school. At the time, I just felt like if I didn't have anything, at least I could be a scholar. At least I could do commemorable things in the school. So I just worked hard. I was like, I want to be a nurse. I worked very, very hard in my prerequisite classes. I got accepted into nursing school. I got into nursing school. I was getting all A's in nursing school. I was helping other people. I was hosting tutorings. I was on the board of the Student Nurses Association. I crossed into the wonderful, wonderful sorority of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I was the treasurer of that, and you could only put so many things on your plate until your plate breaks, falls, crumbles. And when I got into that relationship, that wasn't a fulfilling relationship. It wasn't one in which growth was allowed. So I slowly started to lose things. It went from this happy, I have a boyfriend, I have someone who loves me, to you can't go here, or I don't like it, or I'll have an attitude if you do this, or you'll come home and it will be a problem. And I was such a people pleaser that I would listen. I had to step down from my position as treasurer because I couldn't serve my sorority in the capacity that I could, that I was needed to, that they needed. You know, in a big way, I feel like I turned my back on my sisters. And they didn't deserve that, because we were so fresh, we were so new as a line, and I had made bonds with people, and it was almost like I came in these people's life and I was just gone. I lost nursing school. I got to a point where I couldn't function. And from that point, it was abuse. Like, I'm talking about, I'm asking people for money. I'm not paying them back. Just looking bad. I ain't never asked nobody for money before. I had a job. I was in nursing school. I was working. I had bought my own car. You know, again, complete 180 of what my life was. I started to lose a little bit of weight because of the stress. I tried to do another weight loss journey, you know, back when I was still in nursing school. But once I lost nursing school, I felt like I lost my identity. People treated me differently. People didn't think that I'll go back. People didn't think that, they thought that was it. They didn't think I was going to graduate. You know, they didn't really know, okay, well, what's your plan now? And I just messed around and just continued to be in a tumultuous, toxic relationship, and thinking that was serving me, and it wasn't. And God was giving me every chance to leave. I'm talking about my parents are sitting down with me, begging me to come home. My siblings begging me to come home, and I come home and I leave. I leave in the middle of the night. I know I hurt them. I hurt my family. I would come to them and tell them this is what he's doing to me, but then I'd be back with him at the end of the night and look at them like, why don't you like him? Why don't you think he's good to me? He said he was sorry, you know? Destroying relationships with friends, completely cutting friends off, you know, just having my friends and family watch me come from here to rolling down the hill, like, them begging me, please change. I'm talking about so many times, you know. They cried, begged me, was mad at me, told me they wouldn't talk to me no more. Like, bruh, I did that. I allowed that because up here wasn't right. I tried multiple times to lose the weight naturally. It got to the point where, you know, I was so low again that I was like, I went to my therapist and I told her, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm back at the suicidal ideation stage. You know, I'm feeling very, you know, I'm feeling like that again. And I'll never forget this session because it really helped jumpstart that mindset change with this therapist. And she told me, if you don't change your circumstances, the circumstances is going to kill you. What? Like, at first I was like, man, she just talking that therapist talk. Like, I'm really ready to get off the call. She's like, no, I'm being serious. If you don't get yourself out of there, and the only person that's going to get you out of there is you, you're an adult. The only person that can do that is you. And of course, other people have told me this. But, it's always the other person that tells you, something that gets you to move. So that's when I really, really started trying to come home. And I did. I came home. I was home for a couple months. But all the trauma that I had, all the energy that I had, I was coming home. I was butting heads with everybody. I was just a nuisance in the house. Like, I couldn't... emotionally, I was unstable. I wasn't on my medication. Although I might go do like therapy, I wasn't taking my medication. I wasn't doing it. I would do the therapy, but I wasn't taking my medicine. So my emotional control was poor. It was poor. Yeah, it was bad. I'm talking about, I'm threatening my brother with violence. Threatening my sister with violence. I was so angry. I was just mad. And it's like, I had to sit in it. And I didn't want to sit in it. I just was mad at every little thing. Everything triggered me. Everybody made me mad. And the bittersweet thing about, growing as a person is like, yeah, you got to do the work yourself. You could either sit in that, you could be bitter for years, you could be angry for years, but what I'm not going to do, just destroy everything around me, because although I was acting how I was acting, I was so angry that all these bridges was burnt. I'm coming back to the city like, damn, everything burnt down here, bruh. I was trying to come back and see my Becca. I was trying to come back and think that everything was sweet. Everything was just going to be what it was. Like, I didn't pour the gasoline on it and light that match myself. So, I couldn't handle the weight of that. And I was just like, I gotta change something. So that's where it started, my want to, like, okay, I think that if I lose the weight, it will help me just be better. Like, things will be better. So I started going heavy on research of Ozempic at the time. Ozempic just came out. So I was like, okay, I'll get on the Ozempic. I didn't have diet. Like, even though I was heavy as I was, praise the Lord, I never had any health complications, issues. I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have diabetes. So I was denied the medication because it would be, it would be cosmetic or whatever. It wasn't considered medical for me. My primary care at that point, I had told her, I'm like, you don't know how many times I've tried, like, taking phentermine, which is a appetite suppressant pill. It just would make me feel like I was on meth. I didn't want to have to pay the hundreds and hundreds of dollars that it was when Ozempic first came out. I couldn't afford it. And then my doctor was just like, well, with your BMI and everything, you probably will qualify for weight loss surgery. And I was just like, man, I don't want to do no surgery. Everyone always gets all flabby and I don't want to do X, Y, Z. And she was just like, well, I got it. And my doctor looked good, and I was just like, really? And so I was just like, okay, well, it won't hurt to go to an appointment, so set me up a referral. So she set me up a referral with Dr. Gorjala at Bariatric Innovations. If that's not the right name, I'll put it up there. But yeah, he's with a doctor that works with Northside Hospital. So I went there just to see what it was talking about, and they let me know, like, yeah, we think you'll be a great candidate. We think insurance will definitely cover this due to your BMI, your weight, but it is a 3-month process before you can even get the surgery. I was like, man, what do I have to do? So they put me with a nutritionist, a dietitian, a therapist, support groups, and I had to do a lot of tests and labs and everything to get baselines of like the picture of my health. And starting that journey, that process really was the beginning of where I'm at, right now as far as weight loss goes. I had to talk about why I ate so much, because it's an illness. It's an addiction. Food addiction's real. People don't get to 500 pounds just because they like McChickens. It's a reason why you're eating the way you're eating, and that was something I wasn't honest with myself about. I was not honest that, hey, you have unresolved trauma and pain that you're using food as a crutch, just like someone would use alcohol, just like someone would use prescription pills. The only difference is that mine is readily accessible at any corner in any block. I could get on my phone and order anything I wanted. As long as I had money, I could feed my addiction, and it was easy. So that's when my therapy of realizing, hey, these things happen to you, no one had the right to use my body in a capacity in which I did not consent to or was okay with. I also had to take some accountability in my own sense of, why were you sneaking around? Why were you hiding it? Why were you, I had to take my own personal responsibility, but not put everything on myself. I was put back on my mental health medication. That was another thing. The emotional stability was needed. It takes weeks, to get the medication in your system. So that was, one of the first things, because if you're not prepared for that surgery, you will not be successful. And so it was just all training up into surgery to get me ready for my new lifestyle. And it was the most grueling 3 months. I was going to therapy almost every week. And before that, I was going to therapy maybe once a month. So really having that space and that, area to talk about what happened with both incidents. That's where my therapist had, helped me come to the conclusion of, yeah, you were eating your feelings, and now what are we going to do about that? How are we going to heal from this? So I had to heal from those instances in order to even begin to start to understand where that came from. The 3 months went by. I did everything I was supposed to do, because really after like the first therapy session, I was hooked, because I felt like it was a therapist who who knew she works with people who are in the same boat as me. You know, people use food as a crutch. People that get to that level of obesity is more than just you eating good. And if you want to lie to yourself, you can. But deep down, you know your reasonings of why you're eating so much. And I just had to be honest about mine. So, yeah, I ended up completing my 3 months. I got my surgery. I still was back and forth from home and everything, and I wasn't 100% letting go of the toxic relationship that I was in. But that was my last part of the puzzle, was to leave that relationship. Unfortunately, it was one that I worked, I tried. I did 5 years. We didn't serve each other in the capacities that we needed to serve each other, and that was something that just needed to be let go. We brought our family through the mud, both sides of the family. Yes, my son, Emmanuel, was created out of that relationship, and that's beautiful. I will never regret that. But that relationship didn't serve me anymore, and I had to go. That was my true last step towards, a new life. I'm still repairing relationships to this day. I'm so blessed to have the support system that I have, y'all. My mama, my dad, always there for me no matter what. My siblings, I put them through hell. And I promise them, I'm not going nowhere, bro. I'm gonna fight for this relationship. Because my siblings mean the world to me. My family means the world to me. Just this new perspective on life of wow, I really was thinking I was never going to be loved the whole time I was being loved. I was thinking I wasn't good enough the whole time I was good enough for so many people. I cut my best friend off for 4 years because a nigga told me to. And she's such a loving and caring person that she accepted me back in her life, and I'm forever grateful for you, Trina, bro. I'm forever grateful for you, bro, because that was one of my relationships that hurt me real deep, by having her in my life for all those years. And for her to allow me back in her life is such a blessing that I'll never fumble that again. Having a shaky relationship with my brother, Xavier. We just now get back on good terms, and that means so much to me. That's my baby brother. And the way I treated him was not okay. And I think that was, partially because of how I felt towards men too. It was resentments there, that wasn't his fault. And he protects his peace, and I was not bringing peace to him. And I was, he had to distance himself from me, and I can't be mad at him for that. But that hurt so much. It hurt so much. It hurt so much seeing my siblings living life and just feeling like I was on the outside, but it was my fault. It's my responsibility to fix that. One of my friends, Ariana, my girl Ariana, She had to tell me straight up, I can't be friends with you, bro. I can't watch you burn. I'm trying to give you water. You pour more gasoline on yourself. You know, the fact that she allows me back in her life, I thank you. Because I know that that's rare. Ariana don't play, you know. Just coming home, staying home, losing the weight, going back to school, finishing my degree, getting into nursing school. None of this would not be possible without my family. None of this would be possible without the support that I have from my family, from my bariatric team, from my therapist. It's more than just going to the gym and eating right. I want to continue to share with you guys. I want to continue to be vulnerable with you guys. I want to continue to tell my story, to speak my truth, because it's another little girl out there right now going through what I'm going through. It's another woman out there right now who is going through what I went through. And you're not alone. I see you. You hear me when I say this, y'all. I'll never let that stigma, that feeling ever silence me again. Ever. You know, it's important that there are advocates out there. There are people who can tell their story about their experience with gaining weight, you know. And I think, you know, especially in this community, the weight loss community, you know, mental health is not talked about a lot. It's just all smoke and mirrors about who looks better and how much weight you lost or how much muscle you gained, when in all actuality, weight loss starts with the mindset work. It starts with healing your trauma, healing your pain, realizing why you got to where you got to. And I hope to continue to show y'all, continue to help y'all, continue to give you information, educate not only the world, but my community of African American women, Portuguese women, women of color. I want to advocate for young women who are at risk for sexual abuse or have been sexually abused, older women who have been sexually abused, sexual assault survivors, all that. It's important. It's important to speak out. It's important to know that it's okay to talk about it, even though it really hurts. It's okay if you never got your justice in the court of law. It's okay if you feel some way about yourself because of it, because that's not the truth. You can get over it. You can overcome it. I have tears in my eyes because it's something I'm passionate about. I've never spoke about my situation. I never spoke about Oliver's dad in the public view. I've never, you know, a lot of people don't know my story, and I'm ready to tell y'all. And I hope that as y'all continue, I invite y'all to continue to watch my journey and to watch me grow. Yeah, but I just wanted to do this little powwow so y'all can know who I am and why I am going to be going so hard on these topics and these things, because this is something that's personal to me, and it's something that I want to be able to help someone just like my support helped me. It's my way to give back. It's a way to continue to say thank you. It's a way to continue to be grateful. Yeah. So, see where this journey takes us, y'all. Thank you for my TED Talk. Thank you for listening.